Este encuentro es el cierre de un primer ciclo que denominamos el día después, pensar lo no pensado, y el día de hoy dedicado a la innovación en tiempos críticos. Vamos a compartir previamente un breve video sobre nuestra universidad y a continuación presentaremos a los oradores que hoy nos acompañan.
On regular days, we study a process which is called Rna Splicing. In this process, we generate different proteins from the same gene. This process is abrogated in diseases like cancer and some other rare diseases. And we also develop in our lab molecules that are targeting this process as therapies for cancer and other diseases. After the virus infects the lung cells, it inserts its genetic material, the RNA, into the cells and must replicate in the lung cells. Our molecules will bind the RNA molecules of the virus and will cause their degradation. Therefore, the virus cannot multiply.
Ultimately, coronavirus patients succumb to the disease when the immune system is overactivated and they suffer from respiratory failure. My lab routinely studies the way the immune system deals with cancer. Current therapies for corona patients are mainly to deal with symptoms. None of them actually target the pathology of the disease. We're providing novel tools with a unique system to target the pathology and thereby limit the deterioration of the disease and not just manage the symptoms.
My lab is focusing in immunology, more specifically the antiviral immunity. We are focusing on specific cells, which called T cells, and these cells are the most important cells to attack and kill viruses. Now we're actually taking all our findings and we're trying to take them forward in order to manipulate the T cells and the immune system in hypoxic condition, in lack of oxygen conditions, such as in the coronavirus. And this is give us a huge advantage in understanding how to manipulate the immune system to make it better against the coronavirus infection.
We are working on the immune system, exploring the role of different white blood cells and how they deal with different pathogens, including bacteria and viruses. In the context of the coronavirus, we are collaborating with Dr. Yotam Dreyer and other researchers in the Hebrew University, trying to find where the virus is hiding during the incubation time.
Innovando en tiempos críticos es el tema que hoy vamos a abordar. Hoy vamos a tener la oportunidad de compartir con Naomi Habib, quien es profesora del Centro para las Ciencias del Cerebro de la Universidad y es miembro del equipo que desarrolló un novedoso método de detección más rápido y económico para el COVID-19. שלום נעמי, אנו מודים לך שאת משתתפת היום בדיון שלנו. אנו יודעים שזה מאוחר בלילה בישראל, בגלל זה מאוד מאוד נעים שתהיה איתנו היום. Hola Naomi, muchas gracias por sumarte a estar con nosotros. Sabemos que es muy tarde en la noche ahora en Israel y por eso que estamos muy muy felices de poder contar con vos toda Rabá, Naomi.
Hola.
Presentamos también a Diego Golombek. Diego es doctor en Biología, es divulgador científico e investigador superior del CONICET, y es amigo de la casa con quien venimos realizando juntos varias actividades académicas de los amigos de la universidad. Muchas gracias Diego por estar, toda Raballah, Naomi.
Gracias Marisa, gracias amigos de la Universidad Hebrea de Jerusalem y felicitaciones por este ciclo que están llevando a cabo para pensarnos un poco a nosotros mismos. Hi Naomi, it's a pleasure to meet you by this media. Maybe sometime we'll meet in real life. I'm going to speak in Spanish and I'll do a very short translation of what I say so you are not that lost. Le proponía yo a los amigos, a Marisa, a Héctor, a Laura, voy a ser muy breve, con 3 reflexiones muy breves a propósito de lo que nos está convocando acá, ¿sí? Esto de pensar el día después de la innovación. Una tiene que ver, me parece, con lo que más nos está preocupando con respecto a diagnósticos y tratamientos, pero de eso va a hablar Naomi, que es la experta. Y acá me parece que esto se engarza perfectamente con el tema que nos convoca en cuanto a innovación. Y aprovecho para presentar un poco a Naomi. Marisa dio algunos datos, pero Naomi hace lo que se denomina neurociencia computacional. O sea, analiza computacionalmente qué le pasa al cerebro. Analiza qué pasa cuando recibe estímulos, cuando las células crecen, cuando cambian, cuando se juntan. Y sobre todo, ella es experta en analizar neuronas únicas, neuronas individuales. ¿Se imaginan lo complicado que es eso? ¿Sí? Si se habla de que tenemos, todavía ni sabemos cuántos miles de millones de neuronas, la gente todavía se está tratando de poner de acuerdo, poder identificarlas de a una y entender su herencia, su forma de comunicarse, su forma de actuar, es realmente complicado tecnológicamente. ¿Y por qué hablo de innovación con esto? Porque lo que le está pasando a muchos científicos es que están tratando de aplicar esos saberes específicos que tienen para esta emergencia que tenemos. ¿Sí? Hay una ciencia AP, una ciencia antes de la pandemia, y esperemos que haya una ciencia PP, post-pandemia. ¿Sí? Naomi, what I was just saying is that one of the things that I'm really amazed about is that most of us scientists are trying to get whatever we know about our sciences, which in your case is computational neuroscience, and you analyze single cells on the single cell level, which is something technologically very complex and very complicated. But now you put your brain to think about how to adapt some of your technologies for diagnosis of the COVID-19 illness. And I think that's a wonderful example of innovation that us scientists are dealing with. Vuelvo a castellano ahora y les cuento un poco cuál es nuestro aporte, nuestra mirada para este fenómeno. Nosotros no somos, en mi laboratorio no somos biólogos moleculares, no somos virólogos, no somos inmunólogos, somos cronobiólogos. Estudiamos el tiempo del lado de adentro, ¿sí? El tiempo que nos va ocurriendo, cómo sabemos que es de día, que es de noche, que dormimos, que no dormimos. Y nos hicimos esa pregunta, ¿cómo podemos aportar desde nuestro laboratorio a esta cuestión específica, a la cuestión de lo que está sucediendo con la pandemia, no solamente como una pregunta académica, sino también con un asidero, un ancla de la vida real, ayudar a la gente a la calidad de vida. Y resulta que haciendo nuestros primeros sondeos y charlando con colegas de todo el mundo, incluyendo colegas de Israel, lo primero que sale es que la gente está durmiendo raro, ¿sí? Que están durmiendo más, que están durmiendo de una manera no tan profunda, que están durmiendo más tarde. Esto es anecdótico, ¿sí? Es una anécdota que tiene que ponerse en números para que sirva para algo. Entonces nos pusimos a trabajar inmediatamente, nosotros y varios grupos en todo el mundo, para tratar de entender qué está sucediendo con el sueño durante la pandemia. Breve traducción. Naomi, I'm the head of a chronobiology lab. I study circadian rhythms. So when the pandemic started, we wanted to use our knowledge of sleep and circadian rhythms to see if we could help understanding what was going on during social isolation. And people were reporting that they were sleeping funny, but we want to know exactly what was going on. And the same is happening in many countries in the world. Estamos todavía analizando esto, pero lo que está claro es 3 o 4 puntos. En aislamiento social, la gente está durmiendo más, significativamente más. Eso en principio es bueno, porque estábamos durmiendo muy poco. Estábamos durmiendo bastante menos que las horas recomendadas de sueño. Entonces, la primera reflexión es, bueno, qué bueno esto del aislamiento que nos permita dormir más. Sin embargo, lo que vimos es que este dormir más no era reparador, no era un sueño verdaderamente reparador, y además lo hacíamos siempre más tarde. La gente se está despertando y acostando significativamente más tarde. Con lo cual, no se expone a la luz durante el día, que es la nafta del reloj biológico, y sí se expone a luz durante la noche, pero no cualquier luz, la luz de las pantallas, la luz de la tele, la luz de la tablet, la luz del celular. Y esa señal, esa combinación de señales, hace que cada vez nos corramos hacia más tarde. Ese no es un buen sueño. No es un sueño reparador, no es un sueño que nos sirva para estar bien despiertos al día siguiente, de buen humor, porque el sueño cambia el estado de ánimo, y sobre todo, el sueño, lejos de ser un apagado del cerebro, es algo que nos permite estar saludables, incluyendo al sistema inmune. Y acá es donde entra la pandemia. Si nosotros queremos estar sanos, por supuesto tenemos que estar aislados, no exponernos a riesgos, todo lo que ya sabemos, pero también tenemos que dormir bien y en los horarios adecuados. Entonces, lo que estamos haciendo ahora es expandiendo esa muestra sobre todo en poblaciones que vayan a estar aisladas durante mucho tiempo, que vayan a estar aisladas porque son mayores de edad, o porque tienen alguna enfermedad de riesgo, o porque las escuelas no vayan a comenzar por mucho tiempo. Medir el sueño en esas poblaciones y ver qué recomendaciones podemos hacer, incluyendo centros de aislamiento que hay en el Gran Buenos Aires, cerca de la ciudad de Buenos Aires, qué recomendaciones podemos hacer no solamente para que la gente duerma bien, sino para que esté más sana gracias a un ciclo de sueño más robusto. En el medio aparecieron muchas cosas, por ejemplo, apareció que la gente también está soñando más, y soñando cosas raras, seguramente a ustedes les esté pasando. Este soñando más es relativamente fácil de explicar. Nosotros soñamos varias veces por noche, unas 4 o 5 veces por noche. El último sueño es el más largo, es el que solemos recordar. Si ahora estamos durmiendo más, extendiendo el sueño durante las horas de la mañana y despertándonos más naturalmente, sin alarma, lo más posible es que nos resulte más fácil recordar ese último sueño. Que sean cosas raras, ahí ya no tenemos mucho para opinar, no sabemos bien qué pasa con el contenido. Pero el enemigo número 1 del sueño es el estrés, la ansiedad. Y en tiempos de incertidumbre, obviamente que estamos todos ansiosos y estresados. Por lo tanto, de nuevo, dormimos mal y soñamos cosas raras. Nuestro aporte es periférico, pero es una periferia que influye en la calidad de vida de la gente. Por eso nos parece importante mantenerlo y llegar con esto, más allá de lo académico, más allá de poder seguir publicando papers y formando gente, llegar con esto a que la gente tenga mayor calidad de vida a partir de que tenga ritmos más robustos y sueños más robustos. Naomi, I was just telling the people that we are running a nationwide survey of sleep, and we found things that were quite evident, because people are sleeping more, sleeping later, and they are being desynchronized from the light-dark cycle. And sleep is not as good, even they're sleeping more. The sleep is not as good as before, so people are tend to be sleepy during the day, moody during the day, and we know that in this situation of desynchronization, the immune system doesn't work as well, which is something we've been doing in animal models for a very long time. So we are running another survey specifically for people that will be isolated for a long time, so that we can run very, very strict recommendations of exposure to light, sleep, and circadian rhythm hygiene, in the belief that people will not only sleep better, but will be much healthier. So that's one of the things we are doing right now during the pandemic. Por último, sí, porque me parece que sería mucho más interesante escuchar a Naomi, que tiene algunas novedades con respecto a metodologías de diagnóstico para el coronavirus. Me parece la última reflexión es una reflexión de que todo cambio, un cambio tan drástico como el que estamos viviendo, nos lleva un poco a reconocernos en tanto humanos, ¿no? Y hay 3 características que están ocurriendo en nosotros, en todo el mundo, que son muy primitivas y son primitivamente humanas. Nos hace reconocernos en tanto humanos. Lo primero, y tenemos que admitirlo, es el miedo. el miedo es posiblemente la actitud más primitiva que tenemos los humanos, y gracias a ese miedo es que estamos vivos, es que sobrevivimos como especie. Gracias a que salimos corriendo cuando escuchamos un ruido raro en la selva, no nos pisó un mamut, y pudimos seguir contando la historia. Lo mismo está pasando ahora, un miedo que esperamos sea bien conducido hacia cuidarnos. Humano que huye sirve para otra pandemia. Y me parece que nos está haciendo reconocer en eso, ¿sí? En tanto la humanidad pudo evolucionar gracias a que supo cuándo respetar ese miedo. La primera condición de primitividad, el miedo. La segunda, la condición de autoridad, ¿sí? La condición de que alguien nos diga lo que tenemos que hacer, alguien que sepa idealmente. De nuevo, es algo tremendamente primitivo, antropológicamente primitivo, porque así nos organizamos los humanos. Nos organizamos en grupos liderados por algún líder o eventualmente lideresa, que nos dijera, vamos por este camino. Y estamos todos esperando un poquitito eso, ¿no? Estamos todos esperando un poquitito una autoridad, una voz de autoridad que diga, dentro de la incertidumbre, nos conviene ir por este lado. Y por último, estos dos son evidentes, me parece, ¿no? El miedo y la autoridad son profundamente humanos y primitivamente humanos. El tercero de las características antropológicas que surgió es más sorprendente, y es la solidaridad. Es el preocuparnos por los otros. ¿Por qué digo es sorprendente? Los humanos venimos de fábrica preparados para estar preocupados, primero y principal, por nosotros mismos, cuidarnos a nosotros mismos. Segundo, por lo que tenemos más cercano, por nuestros genes para arriba, los padres, nuestros genes para abajo, los hijos. Y tercero, y bastante lejano, el resto de la especie. Bueno, estamos viendo acá que la solidaridad está bastante expandida. Estamos preocupados por nosotros, por nuestros cercanos y por todo el resto. Y esto me parece que habla bien de nosotros mismos, que es algo que una naturaleza de la pandemia nos está mostrando, está brillando en cierta manera, y habla bien de nosotros como humanos, pese a todos los desastres que hacemos en el resto de la vida. So my last point, Naomi, was just a philosophical point, that I was thinking that these pandemics are bringing out some of very primitive features of humans, including fear, the response to authority, and also, and most surprising, solidarity. We are really thinking about the others, and that's something that's surprising and that kind of talks well about us as humans, and I'm quite happy about that. Dicho eso, sí, yo no quiero sacar más tiempo porque realmente ahora vienen cosas mucho más aplicadas a cuestiones diagnósticas. Le cedo la palabra a Naomi, que como presentó hace un rato Marisa, tiene un tremendo currículum, ¿sí? Naomi, además de estar en la Universidad Hebrea de Jerusalem, estuvo mucho tiempo como postdoc en MIT, sí, la meca de la ciencia, y como les decía, está formada entre estas dos disciplinas, computación y neurociencia, en esto se llama neurociencia computacional, ¿sí? Y estudia esto, yo les decía, neuronas únicas, ¿sí? Pero últimamente, en estos meses, ha optimizado algo que ustedes seguro vieron hablar. Vieron que para hacer el diagnóstico del virus, lo mejor es saber que está el virus. Agarrar un cachito de ADN que solamente puede ser del virus, tener mucho de ese ADN, amplificarlo y poder decir, ahí estaba. Esa técnica se llama PCR, ¿sí? PCR, que es una reacción en la cual el ADN se abre, ¿sí? A partir de cada abertura vos lo multiplicás muchas veces y después lo detectás. Es una técnica muy usual, pero con muchos jeites, ¿sí? Con muchos trucos. Y el laboratorio de Naomi estuvo desarrollando trucos nuevos para que mucho más rápido y en forma mucho más masiva podamos usar esta técnica para diagnóstico. So having said that, I invite Naomi to talk to us about her new discoveries as computational neuroscience working on a virus PCR reaction. So the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Diego. Thank you very much for inviting me and also for allowing me to share with you my science. This was a great introduction. and very inspiring work. Just shows how the entire scientific community has been really transformed to focus on the COVID-19 virus and really trying to get us out of this terrible crisis. It shows the power of science and really the dedication of the academia. Can you see the slides? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so as Diego said, and what my lab is actually usually working on is studying how our brain is changing during processes like aging and Alzheimer's. And we're trying to find new therapeutics for Alzheimer's disease. So this seems completely unrelated to COVID-19 and for testing for the virus, but how is it related? So what we are actually doing is we're trying to develop new technologies to study the brain. That's in normal times. And the brain is very complicated. So there are many different cell types in the brain. So we developed a unique technology that enables us to take only individual cells out of the brain and look at a unique molecule called RNA that is actually present in every cell in our body, including in cells in our brain. So we're taking this very complicated brain tissue, taking it apart and then looking at one cell at a time and profiling these RNA molecules. So again, how is this related to COVID-19? In fact, when we are testing for the presence of the virus, when we want to say if somebody is sick or healthy, what we are doing is we are detecting these exact same molecules, these RNA molecules, which is the genetic material of the virus. So we need to find these rare RNA molecules of the virus and try to detect them. So when our world started to change a few months ago, and we all were quarantined during our home, we tried to think, can we actually use our expertise in working with these small RNA molecules? Can we use it to now find a better diagnostic test for COVID-19? So I don't need to explain to you how dramatic the situation is, where we're paying such a huge price in human life and in our safety, in a huge economic crisis. There's an emotional crisis, and Diego really also referred to this very nicely. So there is really a great need to find a way to get out of this crisis fast. And the way we see it, one of the most important and critical things in order to get out of this crisis and back to normal routine is testing. So it's not just a small scale testing, but mass testing of a huge amount of individual. And of course, the number itself depends on the number of people in the population. But why is massive testing so important? If we are conducting routinely testing a lot of people, not only the few that get to the hospital, but rather routinely test people throughout all the population, we could really identify the people that are sick even before they have any symptoms. And that's what actually is so special of COVID-19 virus, that it's highly, highly infected before we even feel we're sick, right? So we are spreading the virus without knowing it. So massive testing can identify these specific places where the virus is outbreaking, contain these places, which means that the entire population could actually be free and get back to our normal lives. Of course, this is only part of this important task of getting us back to the routine. And you can see that there are countries that are doing this successfully. A good example is actually South Korea. And you can see here an image of a phone booth that they're being built to do testing of people very rapidly in the streets. And when you look just online in the internet, you'll find many, many articles saying the exact same thing, that massive testing is critical in order to get back into routine. So why isn't this done in all the countries around the world? So there's several really big roadblocks that are stopping us, preventing us from doing that. The first is that we're actually missing the materials, the reagents that we can use in order to do standard diagnostic testing today. So there's a huge shortage in these reagents. People have been trying to buy them around the world. So this is true in Israel, it's true in Argentina as well. The second part is that the common test that we're using is not very efficient. And it's also not very scalable, meaning it's not easy to do 100,000 tests a day. So that's why when the first thing we did was actually to identify these two major roadblocks and say, how can we now come as experts in RNA, can we come and contribute to the COVID diagnostic test? So let me introduce our team first. So this is actually a very tight collaboration between my lab and the lab of Professor Nir Friedman. So we're both studying completely unrelated things. As I already mentioned, my lab is studying aging and Alzheimer's disease, and Nir's lab are studying basic functions of cells and also immune cells in the blood. You can see here pictures of the entire team. We can see we're a very diverse team, and I circled all the individuals that are really working on this project. So we're over 15 scientists working really around the clock. And it's very exciting to see how people are being devoted, putting their, even in times of crisis when we were quarantined at home, schools are closed, still we had this amazing effort from everybody coming to help. Another huge part of our team is actually our collaborators on the medical side. So this is actually something that we haven't started. It's an effort independent of us. There's been a great effort of Professor Yuval Dor, who joined a doctor at Hadassah Medical Hospital called Professor Dana Wolf, who's been really spearheading all of the corona testing in Hadassah Hospital. And what they did, they said, let us help with the diagnostics of COVID-19. So they evacuated a space in the university. They brought machines and robotics from labs in the university. And with Dana's training, they've been trained over 50 volunteers to conduct the COVID-19 robotic tests. So while our own labs are being closed, students and researchers and faculty from the university have come to run tests in this diagnostic lab. And you can see some of the pictures of the people who've been volunteering, and there've been many, many more. I've circled actually here a picture of Adi Roni Ben Ami, who's actually a medical student that has been, that her studies has been delayed. So she has been managing all the 50 volunteers who come to work at the university. And this has really been amazing because they've been done over 40,000 tests so far, which is around 20% of the tests that's done generally in Israel. So it's another example of how the Hebrew University has been so committed to help Israel get out of this crisis. So why is this collaboration critical for us? It meant that we could talk with Dana Wolf and understand what is the real need right now for Israel to do more efficient diagnostic tests, and also develop tests that is relevant for the clinic and that they can actually apply. And they have supplied us with many clinical samples so we could test and thoroughly test our samples. So this is our team. And what I'll do now is I'll go through and explain what is the current most common COVID-19 diagnostic test that's done around the world, how we improved this test by our homemade version, And what are we doing now to scale up the test even much more by pulling samples and using more advanced technology beyond the current one? And if anybody's needs to leave early, I'll just stop by saying that my take-home message. So I think the most important message from today is that scientists around the world are really recruited and delivering, and we really can promise we're delivering the technological solutions that will enable mass testing. And this means that we need the collaboration from other people to really be committed to conduct these massive testing and help us get out of this crisis. So let's get back to our outline. What is our first step? So currently, let's see how are currently diagnostics tests done for COVID-19. So here you can see on the left side, you can see a bunch of tubes. These are tubes from swab tests that are been collected. It's very similar around the world. People have been collecting the tests in a very similar way. And within these tubes, there's a lot of material that can be found in our mouth and nose, but also for a sick person would find these viral particles. You can see them here, this round circles on the left. So we can see an illustration of the coronavirus, and within it, you can see a little molecule, which is our RNA molecule. So the first step is to actually take apart the virus and extract only these blue RNA molecules. Here they're marked in blue, molecules that we need in order to do the diagnostics. Then after we take apart the virus, we need to extract only the RNA molecules and clean up all the other mess that surrounds it that actually interferes with the test. Once we have a very clean sample of RNA molecules, we can put it in a machine that does a very simple reaction called real-time PCR, which enables us to measure if the RNA if the virus is present or not present. And then we can give back an answer to the person if he's sick or healthy. So you can see here that in advanced laboratories that does the diagnostic test, they don't do this test one test at a time, but rather they work within a plate where you could put 96 samples of individuals. So people have already been thinking of how to do this test more efficiently. So we definitely don't do it one person at a time. And you saw a picture of the Hadassah Hospital where they put robotics in to actually do these tests. So they really can conduct tests on 96 samples. And yet this is not sufficient enough and in terms of the efficiency. So when we asked Professor Dana Wolf, what is the most critical step that takes the longest? She said that this is the step that takes the longest, the step that takes us to purify these RNAs and really clean up the samples. And this is actually also the step where we were running out of commercial reagents. So how typically this is done? We buy from commercial companies, we buy kits, we buy materials that enable us to do this RNA cleanup. And because it was running out around the world, we were facing a state where we couldn't conduct any more tests. So let me share with you what we did to provide a homemade version of an RNA cleanup step. So what we did is just develop a method that plugs in exactly to the current test that's been done today. And the idea was that it will be very easy to adapt to any clinical laboratory that already knows how to do the standard test. The only thing they need to do is replace this RNA step with a different protocol. So how do we do this step? We actually skip the RNA cleanup by, instead of doing the cleanup, we capture very efficiently the viral RNA. And let me walk you through it. So here you can see an example of a single tube. You can see starting from the left, I don't know if you can see my, I don't think you can see my little cursor, the little, so I'll just walk you through it with my words. So we start on the left, we have the tube where we have the virus and all the RNA of the virus and a lot of mess surrounding it. And what we do is we add to this tube tiny microscopic beads that have a very unique trait that they can actually bind RNA very, very efficiently. So what these tiny magnetic beads do is that they attract all the RNA molecules to them. And then in the next step, we use their second trait, which is that they are magnetic. So we take a strong magnet and pull all the beads, and then we capture the RNA and we can get rid of all the mess that surrounds them. And at the end of the process, we get very clean RNA. And this whole process is actually speeds up the regular tests 4 to 10 times. So if you do it very efficiently with a robot, it will only improve your process and make it 4 times faster. But if you do it in a less efficient step, it might improve it 10 times or even more. So this is generally how it looks. We go back to the regular testing and we only plug in one step. Instead of the RNA cleanup, we plug in our tiny magnetic beads that the important part is that it's much faster. It's also much cheaper, so it costs much less per test. And most importantly, it's homemade, meaning that we can generate now, instead of buying an expensive commercial kit, we can generate this test in almost any laboratory. And most importantly, we can generate it in Israel, since we don't have the manufacturer. And I think in other countries in South America, for example, there is a similar problem where these kits are not manufactured locally. And it's very important in times where flights are actually being canceled to have reagents that are being manufactured locally. And as you can see here, I'll show you a little video, if it's going to work, just 1 second. Let me just remove the sound. So the sound is still on, but you can hear in the background here, you can hear Ayelet from one of the partners in my lab, who's been explaining how the robot works. And I'll just advance this a little bit so you can see that the robotic arm can move around and do the test for 96 samples at a time. It can mix the beads, elute them, and this is how we do it even more efficiently. So here's an example of how we actually tested this protocol. We took actually hundreds of clinical samples and we compared them. We compared what answer do we give a patient if he's sick or healthy in our test compared to the standard test. And we see that we get a very high accuracy and sensitivity, meaning we can detect sick people even better than a normal test. So what I explained so far is how we're doing the test using our new homemade version of the COVID-19 diagnostic test, but we still actually have a big problem because it still does not enable us to do this massive testing we wanted to do. So how can we overcome this? We need to actually be more creative and think out of the box. So one thing our collaborators at Hadassah are actually already doing, they already did a very nice trick that a lot of people have been talking about, but they made it clinically available, where they're taking, they said that a lot of the tests they're doing is not testing actually sick people, but rather trying to do a survey of people to find people that are sick on time. For example, in the Hadassah hospital, they survey all the workers routinely to prevent having sick doctors contaminate other patients. So in this case, it means that if we're thinking of 100 samples that can go into a plate, only maybe 2 of them might be sick. So what they're doing is they're taking 8 samples at a time and pulling them into one sample. And then instead of doing 96 samples, they're just going to take 12. So this is a very fast and very quick solution for testing many individuals. But what is the meaning of this? The meaning is that once we find a sample that's contaminated, we don't know which of the 8 individuals was actually sick. So they need to go back to these 8 individuals and test them. So this means that when we have a high infectivity rate, this solution can't help. And also we're still only improving by a factor of 8. So if we really want to do 100,000 samples or 10,000 samples even, how can we do that more efficiently? So this is where we continue our work. And we said, how can we actually overcome this problem that we're having and really enable fast testing? And I think I can explain this very easily by the fact that when you're looking at these tests, at every point you can see that even at the stage of the real-time PCR, we need to conduct the test for every sample separately. So even if we're pulling 8 samples, we still need to do it for these pulled samples separately, which means that we could do for doing 96 samples, we need 1 plate. But for doing 1,000 samples, we already need quite a lot of plates. And now think of how would it look for 10,000 samples. So you could see that even just by this visualization, you could see that it's really hard to scale this up to 100,000 samples. So how can we overcome this? We need to avoid doing these tests on every sample separately, but rather pull 40,000 samples at once. And this is exactly what we are doing actually in our new solution that we're working on, where we're taking 96 samples at a time and pulling them into a single tube. And then then how can we go back and know which of these 96 people is actually sick and who is healthy? So we need a different technology. We can't use real-time PCR anymore. We need to use a different technology, and the technology we're using is DNA sequencing. So how did we think of this idea? It's because this is actually what we are doing when we are looking at the individual neurons and cells in our brain. So as I told you at the beginning, what I'm routinely doing in my lab is I'm looking at profiling cells in the brain, every cell, 1 cell at a time. But what we're actually doing is we're not doing by hand going 1 cell at a time. We're actually pulling 10,000 cells together and then looking at each of them separately. So this is a technology I've developed during my time at MIT in order to profile the brain and other organs in our body. So let me walk you through how it actually works. We're actually going to meet again the small beads that I've been talking to you about before. So what we do when we profile a single cell, we actually capture the cell along with a tiny bead. And this tiny bead is not exactly like the same bead I showed you before, but it has a small DNA that is called a barcode. So what happens when the RNA of the cell meets the beads, what happens is we are actually tagging every RNA molecule with a small barcode. And then what happens when we pull all the samples together and we put them on the sequencing machine, we're getting 2 types of information. We know we can know if there is what RNA are present, and we know which cell did it come from. And that's exactly what we're doing now with the COVID-19. For every sample from a patient, we're tagging it with a specific barcode that can tell us exactly who's the person this sample came from. And then when we're doing the sequencing on 10,000, 40,000, or even 100,000 people together, we can say for every person, did it have or didn't it have, does this person have the RNA of the virus or not? And this is because we know the sequence of the virus and we know the barcode of the individual. So this is how it generally looks. We're actually replacing the regular pipeline where we take samples, we lyse the samples, and we then continue. We replace that by pulling hundreds and thousands of people together in an individual tube, putting them on a sequencing machine, and then using the readout of the sequencing to tell us who of these 10 to 100,000 people are sick or healthy. So right now we're actually still developing this next step of technology. We're already showing it for several hundreds of individuals that it's very, very clean. We can say we can pull samples together. It's working very nicely. So we're very excited about this. And we already started to talk with the Israeli Ministry of Health to think how can we adapt this now for doing mass testing. So that's all I have to say. I'll just get back to the most important part, which is saying thank you. So first of all, thank you for this amazing team. I think I presented most of these individuals. Let me just say their name because they've been working so hard. So of course, I've mentioned Yuval and Dana and Nir Friedman, the professors I've been working with, but the people who are actually doing the hard work around the clock are people in the lab most of the time, which is Dafi, Ronen, Matan, Isra, Alon, Ayelet, Anna, Anael, Dani, Masha, and I think I mentioned all, and Omer. And of course, we all actually have also a great support team. And during these times, it's very special because our families were largely quarantined at home while we were working in the lab. So I really want to say also thank you to my individual support team, which is my husband and my 3 kids. So Daniela, Amos, and Galia, and my husband, Ariel Sopiorka, who actually was born in Buenos Aires. And their help and commitment to actually support this research has been really important as well. And of course, we have to thank our funding, which is this very generous funding that we got from the Rothschild Foundation and my own individual funding from the lab, from the Myers Foundation and the Goren Kazam family. So thank you for the ongoing support of the Hebrew University. Muchas gracias.
תודה רבה, נעמי. תודה רבה לך.
That was great, Naomi. Thank you so much. Let me recap a little bit for people that are outside in the audience and in Spanish. Todos ustedes seguro escucharon hablar de esta reacción que se denomina PCR. Lo que contaba Naomi son varios problemas que hacen que sea muy difícil escalar esta reacción a miles y miles de casos, que es lo que se necesita para algo más. ¿Sí? Entonces, lo primero que contó es la optimización de esta reacción de PCR. ¿Cómo se optimiza? En lugar de que midas de a una muestra, ¿sí? Podés juntar varias y después purificar a qué paciente pertenece. Ella contó un poco cómo esta purificación, que se hace por distintos métodos, no importa, mejora la eficiencia y la rapidez del testeo. Eso es lo que se usa, pero aún así, lo que nos mostró Naomi muy gráficamente, es que se hace, cada máquina puede procesar de a 96 muestras por tachito, donde en cada una de esas pueden ir unos pocos individuos. Entonces, si uno quiere llegar a 100.000 muestreos, le cuesta mucho. Ahí es donde entra el saber de Naomi de esto de poder tomar una célula única y estudiar su identidad, sus ácidos nucleicos. ¿Cómo se hace eso? Secuenciando sus ácidos nucleicos, leyendo sus ácidos nucleicos. Esa técnica tiene una particularidad. Vos podés agarrar un montón de células y ponerles una huella dactilar, ¿sí? Ponerles una etiqueta. Esta es la célula 1, la célula 2, la célula 15.000. Y las procesás todas juntas y las lees juntas. Eso es lo que ellos están aplicando ahora, secuenciando la posibilidad de que haya virus en 10.000 individuos, 100.000 individuos, con esta técnica nueva. yo tengo una pregunta y tengo que hacer una aclaración. Yo a las 6 tengo que salir a otro Zoom, estamos en la dictadura del webinariado, ¿sí? La dictadura del Zoom, como todos saben, y voy a tratar de volver enseguida después. Pero mientras tanto le quiero hacer una pregunta a Naomi. Naomi, I just summarized a little bit of your methods, which are amazing, really. But I do have a question. If you move from PCR to next generation sequencing, then you would be centralizing much more the analysis, because of course we don't have next generation sequencers everywhere. And my other question is your tags. If you use thousands of samples, I understand I'm not that knowledgeable in the field, but the tags do have errors, right? The tags are the current development of tags for individualizing each of your thousands of samples is not the best. So how are you dealing with both problems? So let me translate that. Muy rápido, aunque la verdad que Kevin está traduciendo muy bien, estaba diciendo que esta nueva técnica de la generación, de la secuenciación de nueva generación, va a centralizar mucho más los análisis, porque máquinas para hacer PCR hay en cualquier laboratorio. Secuenciadores de nueva generación hay muy poquitos, ¿sí? No sé cuántos habrá en Israel, en Argentina hay muy poquitos, ¿sí? Quiere decir que centralizás todavía más esto. Y lo otro es que si en un tubito tenés 1000 muestras y cada una tiene una etiqueta, depende mucho de esa etiqueta. Si falla la tecnología de la etiqueta, se cae todo. Entonces le pregunté eso. So I just translated the question a little bit.
Yeah, great questions. For your first question about, so I think in Israel it's a little different. We're a very small country, so you could very easily mobilize, prepare the library across the country and mobilize it to a central location to get sequenced. Could be within less than an hour. So it actually solves a lot of this issue, and actually centralizing is could be a very efficient and easy way to perform this. So that's our first method that I presented is the exact opposite. It's the method that the idea is it's very homemade, very local. Every lab can do it very easily. No need of special materials or reagents.
Okay.
Ustedes pueden hacer preguntas a través de nuestro chat. Como habrán visto, tenemos la aplicación Closed Caption, que es Kevin Levin, a quien le agradecemos enormemente. Está traduciendo muy amorosa y eficazmente. Gracias, Kevin. Vamos a pasar a hacer las preguntas para que Naomi pueda respondernos en la espera de que después Diego se sume. Acá hay una pregunta que dice, ¿cómo se traslada esta metodología a otros países?
The first technology I presented can very easily be adapted to any countries, and we get many questions from around the world, actually a lot from South America, a lot from England and the United States. And what we did is we already published our protocol online, so anybody can actually download it and do the protocol themselves. We're not a commercial company, so we don't sell a product, but we actually share openly our science, and anybody that would like to can actually try the protocol themselves. So for example, in Israel now, the Ministry of Health are trying to transform our technology to be used throughout all the clinics in Israel that are conducting the testing. So we hope that will actually happen and we can help them do that.
Hay otra pregunta que dice, es muy específica. ¿Los ARN tienen partes metálicas para ser atraídas magnéticamente? Kevin?
Does the RNA have something magnetic? Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I get that a lot. So no, that's not how it works. What happens is these the beads are magnetic, which helps us capture them and really helps the cleanup. So the trick here is that the beads are magnetic, so we can capture them. But the RNA binds to the beads not because of any thing metal or magnetic, but because of a charge. There's an electrical charge, so you know, negative and positive attract. It's a very simple trick, and it all depends on what is the medium around them. When the beads are surrounded with water, they do not bind the RNA is released. When they are bound, when they're surrounded with a special buffer, they bind the RNA. So it's chemistry, a very simple thing.
Hay otra pregunta que dice, explica nuevamente el proceso por el cual se asigna código de barras a las moléculas.
Sorry, I'm here. So could you explain the process through which you assign a barcode to the molecules?
Oh, yeah. It's I just mentioned it, but I didn't explain it. So if you remember in my slides, the beads that I were using were very special, and they had small DNA molecules attached to them. So each bead has a unique DNA molecule that has a barcode. What happens is that RNA and DNA actually attach to each other. It's called hybridized. They attach to each other. So if we use the right DNA sequence with the barcode, and that can actually find the virus RNA, then the next step we do is actually a step that's called PCR. We make more copies of the DNA, and during this process, the DNA barcode integrates into the RNA molecule. I know this is probably quite complicated for people who do not come from the biological world, so I'll try to simplify this by saying that we use very standard molecular biology techniques to bind DNA barcodes to other DNA molecules. And the trick is to design it in a way that it will only do it to the viral RNA, the RNA from the virus, the genetic material of the virus. I hope that helps.
Veo que no hay otras preguntas. Vamos a aprovechar un ratito entonces hasta que vuelva Diego para poder volver a hablar con Naomi y con Diego en un diálogo. Parte de lo que nos decía Naomi, en esta pandemia la humanidad tuvo tiempo para reflexionar acerca de la importancia de la ciencia. Es una nueva realidad y nuestra universidad tiene el privilegio de poner toda su experiencia, parte de lo que contó Naomi, todo su saber, todo el material humano, y sus recursos para enfrentarla. Nosotros tenemos un slogan en la universidad que aparece en todos los videos, que es tradición en innovación. Y una vez más sentimos que no es un lema vacío que cierra cada video, es un imperativo que moviliza para encontrar respuestas, soluciones para una sociedad donde vivimos y como ciudadanos del mundo, que es parte de lo que nos compartía Naomi a través del maravilloso trabajo que están haciendo en forma mancomunada científicos, investigadores de diferentes disciplinas, estudiantes que postergan sus cursos para poder comprometerse con esta tarea tan noble. Hoy más que nunca la universidad está abocada a esta tarea, la de crear un mundo más sustentable, más seguro y más sano. Es por eso que agradecemos muchísimo a Naomi por su tiempo, por su compartir todo lo que ellos están haciendo ahora, en este mismo momento. Y toda la información que nosotros querramos tener y compartir mismo esta charla que estuvimos teniendo hoy, son actividades que recomiendo que puedan entrar a nuestra página web, la tienen ahí publicada, www.uji.org.ar, donde figuran todos los avances que semanalmente se publican de la universidad, y de paso invitarlos al próximo webinar que la Universidad Hebrea organiza, que va a ser el lunes 18 de mayo a las 14 horas, nuevos descubrimientos en la investigación sobre cannabis a cargo del profesor Yossi Tam. Agradecerle a Kevin Levin, que nos hizo posible este puente de traducción y de comunicación. Agradecerles a Ariel Abad y a Edu Polak, coordinadora y Relaciones Públicas del Departamento para América Latina, España y Portugal, y a Edu, director del Departamento de América Latina, con quienes hicimos permanentemente los contactos con los profesores de la Universidad Hebrea y pudimos hacer estos webinars. Agradecer al equipo de trabajo que conformamos del equipo profesional, a Laura Sames, a Javier Rahman, y al board y a las amigas de la Universidad Hebrea de Jerusalem, que somos un grupo de mujeres que activamente participamos todas las semanas pensando en las actividades. Ahora vamos a contarles también que en estos webinars participamos, si bien lo organizamos los amigos argentinos de la Universidad Hebrea, participamos conjuntamente los amigos uruguayos de la Universidad Hebrea, los chilenos y los brasileros.
Bueno, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias a los oradores de hoy. Muchísimas gracias, Naomi. Muchísimas gracias, Diego, quien ya es amigo de la casa, gran colaborador, que con su simplicidad y su manera de comunicar y de transmitir nos permite, a los que no somos específicamente de la investigación académica, facilitarnos el entendimiento y el acceso a estas investigaciones. Yo quiero destacar que todos estos eventos que se llevan adelante, que parecería muy fácil citar a una o a dos personas y publicar y difundir una actividad y suponer que a través de esto entramos en las casas de ustedes, requiere de un gran esfuerzo. Hay que tener en cuenta que Naomi está con 6 horas de diferencia con nosotros, por lo tanto ya ha pasado la medianoche, a las 5 de la tarde, como para poder hacer un horario normal para ambos. También es un esfuerzo, dado que, como ustedes están viendo, Diego, que además tiene función pública, está tremendamente atareado. El poder, por primera vez, por lo menos entre nosotros, hacer una traducción escrita para que toda la gente lo pueda seguir, agradeciendo ya desde ya a Kevin, no es una tarea menor. Aunque ustedes no lo aprecien probablemente por la cantidad de Zooms y webinars que esta pandemia nos ha delegado, es un esfuerzo muy grande de comunicación entre las partes, de coordinación, y por eso agradezco a los que disertan, como agradezco a mi equipo profesional que lo puede llevar adelante. Indudablemente, nuestra función es mostrar lo que es la investigación en Israel. Sabemos perfectamente que cuando citamos a profesores de la universidad, los temas se transforman en muy técnicos, porque el expertise que ellos muestran en todas sus explicaciones nos hacen entender por qué en ese paisito que hoy casualmente cumple los 72 años de calendario gregoriano con respecto a su independencia, ha tenido tanto crecimiento en la investigación y en el desarrollo, y tiene una participación tan activa en esta pandemia. En algunos de los otros webinars anteriores manifesté mi interés o mi deseo de que de Israel pueda surgir la solución al coronavirus. No solamente desde la Universidad Hebrea de Jerusalem, desde cualquier otra universidad, instituto de investigación, laboratorio, o que sirva a otros laboratorios y otras instituciones en el mundo a que se pueda encontrar una solución como vacuna preventiva o como tratamiento al coronavirus. Que ustedes estén escuchando y que Israel esté participando hace que una vez más yo pueda decir que estas presencias son la manera de manifestarnos en contra del boicot que algunos pretenden hacerle a los investigadores del Estado de Israel, al BDS. Un boicot que no debería existir, porque seguramente el día que la vacuna se expanda desde los laboratorios de Israel, el boicot no va a existir porque todos vamos a estar pendientes y deseosos de poder utilizarlo. Por lo tanto, no hay que darle la espalda a la inteligencia, no hay que darle la espalda al conocimiento, no hay que darle la espalda a la investigación. Al contrario, hay que hacer esto que hacemos nosotros: cooperar, difundirlo, como dijo Naomi, poder que, entre otros, potenciemos el estudio, porque es la única manera en que la solución se va a encontrar, con la ayuda y la colaboración de todos, no haciendo discriminación. Y realmente, si estos webinars han servido para algo, yo creo que desde nuestra modesta función, lo que sirven es para transmitir a los genios como Naomi, a los genios como Golombek, a mostrar que Israel está tan preocupada en intervenir en esta solución como cualquier otro laboratorio en el mundo. Y si ustedes lo han recibido, como lo dijo Naomi, que ha podido expandir su investigación a través del Instituto Rothschild, o a través de Meyers, o a través de otras fundaciones que han colaborado, aunque ustedes no lo crean, cualquiera de nosotros puede ser parte de esa colaboración. Y en nuestra página hay un botón, nuestra página web, huji.org.ar, hay un botón que dice donar. Y la donación puede ser desde 300 pesos hasta lo que cada uno desee. Es la manera de ayudar a que estos laboratorios, a que estos profesionales puedan seguir abocados a encontrarnos la solución. Agradezco a todos los que nos permiten entrar en sus casas. Es lo que Zoom nos ha facilitado. Poder llevarles a ustedes lo que realmente es nuestra misión. Mostrar la investigación, la excelencia de las universidades que tenemos en el Estado de Israel. Muchísimas gracias por su atención. Muchísimas gracias, Naomi, Diego, Kevin y a mi equipo de profesionales.
Gracias, Héctor. Entonces, para despedirnos, pedirles a Naomi y a Diego si quieren darnos un mensaje a la humanidad, un mensaje que podamos tener de esperanza. Eso que decía Diego, de que necesitamos estar fuertes para una próxima pandemia, ¿no? Y poder tener los recursos de todas las situaciones de estrés que tenemos, que vivimos en estas circunstancias. Bueno, quizá no solamente desde un lugar científico, sino desde el lugar humano en el que el científico atraviesa toda esta situación. Así que les pido a Naomi y a Diego. Así que les paso la palabra a Diego y a Naomi para poder cerrar este webinar y agradecerles infinitamente a los dos por haber compartido con nosotros y hecho posible este webinar que cierra nuestro primer ciclo.
Muchas gracias, Marisa. Yo quiero ser de nuevo muy breve. De nuevo, disculpas porque me fui y volví, pero quiero resaltar la importancia de este tipo de hechos frente a lo que estamos viviendo, ¿sí? Cuando logramos contactarnos con la evidencia, aun cuando sea complicada, aun cuando sea técnicamente complicada, vamos en el camino, ¿sí? Cuando entendemos que un gobierno no solamente tiene que apoyar a la ciencia, que lo tenemos que exigir, sino que tiene que apoyarse en la ciencia para tomar decisiones, vamos por buen camino. Pero eso no sirve de nada si no se comunica. Si lo que hacemos los científicos y las científicas, los test que está realmente optimizando de una manera exponencial, el grupo de Naomi y otros grupos, lo poco que hacemos nosotros en sueños, si no lo contamos para que la gente tenga algo de qué agarrarse, tenga algún argumento real, más allá de las pavadas que salen todo el tiempo en la tele o en los medios o de fuera, no estamos cumpliendo nuestro rol. Así que yo quiero agradecer que este es un foro más, no cualquier foro, por otro lado, en el cual los científicos podemos contar lo que estamos haciendo para lo que en un momento eran, como, no sé, 100 personas, no sé, había un montón de gente ahí escuchando. Así que es importantísimo esto de tener lugares donde podemos contar la ciencia detrás de lo que nos está pasando. Así que muchas gracias y que se repita.
So I'll also add a few words. I think Diego spoke very nicely about the need to share our science. And I actually wanted to end by saying, tuning back to what Diego said at the beginning of his talk about solidarity. That we see a really spike in solidarity among all of us, which is very heartwarming. So I see it here among the neighbors, helping each other, either cope with the economic crisis, cope with the emotional burden of being segregated at home. There's a lot of effort to help the more elderly people who can't leave their house safely. And I see the same also in my academic environment at the university, where everybody has kind of put aside what they're doing, focused on trying to help Israel, trying to help the world get out of this, leave this crisis. And the way we help is by doing what we know how to do, which is science. And I think that this crisis really showed how important it is that the scientific work that people are doing is really critical in order to, in this complicated situation we are, and it starts from economists, epidemiologists, and scientists like me who are developing either a diagnostic test like me or others in our university who are working on cures, working on understanding the disease. And so it's really, I think it's nice to end with thanking all of you to being here, coming to listen to us. And it's also part of the solidarity that we're feeling these days.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. Toda rabá. Y los esperamos entonces para el próximo webinar de la Universidad Hebrea, lunes 18, 14 horas. Muchas gracias a todos, gracias a todas nuestro equipo de mujeres, Diana Kaplan, Gloria Ini, Ruth Baral y Rita Sacal, con quienes compartimos todas las semanas y debatimos juntas ideas y propuestas para seguir armando estas actividades y a todo nuestro grupo. Muchas gracias a todos y nos vemos prontamente. Gracias. Gracias Diego, gracias Naomi. Toda.